You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Hallowed House of Horror, that wonderful place where all of your nightmares come true. Hopefully our voices aren't nightmares to you, but it is, of course, the Horror Ramblings Podcast with Mr. Lester here, and of course, the amazing, the astounding, the master of the dark, Stephen White. How are you today, Stephen?
I was just trying to keep it dark. That was hello in whatever language of monster that was. Someone understood it.
Somewhere oddly,
At least I would
yes.
hope so.
It's
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole I am Groot thing. I was getting spoilers for Guardians 3, not meaning to, but I saw a clip at the end where Groot talks and everyone understands him, and a lot of people got confused, like, oh, Groot can talk now. But I guess James Gunn revealed that he did that because we've been with the Guardians so long, we've watched them for so long, that now we can understand him the same way that they understand him.
Right. And I think that it was a beautiful way to do it. And funny enough, at least to my understanding, even Katrina and myself, we picked up on that. It wasn't like, what? Huh? It was like, no. We get to understand it now. So it was like just that one little brief moment where we're like, oh shit, we understood him. And it was perfect because that was like his last line in the movie that you ever hear.
Yeah.
So it was like a nice capper, and I thought that's awesome.
Yeah, nice little nod off to the character, which is just awesome. I mean, it's I haven't seen it yet. I'm falling behind here. I need to go.
That's fine.
I need to go see some more movies, but no, yeah. I saw that clip, and then I saw where Gamora understood him for the first time, which kind of showed that she was now sort of back with her friendship, I guess you could say, for them, because it's definitely trippy. Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, come on, but let's be honest. James Gunn's a fucking genius. Just let's put it out there. And I love hearing Lloyd Kaufman talk about him, and he still loves trauma, and I love that too.
Yeah, he hasn't forgotten his roots. He knows where he came from,
which is good. You should never forget where you come from, which I guess sort of has to do with our subject today. But before we get into the subject today, I didn't know if there was any little news stuff that you wanted to sort of report on, if there was anything cool that you had seen or anything.
There was at least one thing that I wanted to bring up because I guess this is going to be the trend going forward, because certain things hit public domain and people are like, what way can we ruin this further? And so we know that there was Winnie the Pooh made its way into public domain. We got the Blood and Honey movie. I'm sure there are other weird projects out there that people are like, oh man, we're gonna ruin the shit out of this. So another, and this seems like some news that should be on my other show, but I figured, I think it's better here, is someone is making a Winnie the Pooh first-person shooter game on Steam, on PC. So now you get to go around and kill whomever as you're being hunted by Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends while you're trying to save Christopher Robin in the 100-Acre Wood. So they've just, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why we feel this is necessary, but here it is. 100-Acre Wood is the name of the game. You can wish list it now on Steam if you want to. I don't understand why this is a thing.
I just saw a thing the other day about another Winnie the Pooh movie that they're going to do that has to do with drugs or something, and somebody goes on like a psychedelic trip. Like I think it's Christopher Robin gets addicted to drugs, and his imaginary friends are way different when he's on drugs, and could be interesting. You know, I was really hoping that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey would be good. And I think if they would have put some more money into the production of it, it might have not been as bad. I still don't think it would have been phenomenal.
I think they should have taken their time, because it almost seemed as if the idea, like the moment it happened, someone was like, shit, we got a horror movie, let's go. And they just wrote out first draft, and that's what they filmed, and they didn't really think it through.
You know what I think would be really cool? Just to, I won't get on this like a lot, but, you know, they have the original stuffed animals in a museum somewhere that are based off of Winnie the Pooh, and you know that Winnie the Pooh's based off of and everything. And they did that movie with Ewan McGregor, Christopher Robin, where he's an adult and they're stuffed animals. Why not do a horror film about the stuffed animals? That could be interesting. Killer toys are always good to some degree, and I don't know, something about a killer Winnie the Pooh. I mean, who wouldn't love that?
Yeah, exactly.
Not some guy
I would be down for it.
Not some guy in a suit with a bear head and stuff. Just give me killer toys and call it a day. Make it interesting.
And that's what I'm talking about. Even the designs of the characters were just so slapdash together that it just, I don't know, I don't feel as though it's like they felt like they had a line that they had to cross, or the finish line, before anyone else, and they were just like, we got to do this now, and it doesn't matter what it takes, just get it done, and that's that. And I honestly feel like that's because despite how I'm talking about it, I feel like there's a good idea to explore there, but I just don't think that they explored it properly.
Yeah. And we've talked about that before. It's even like the Peter Pan idea that we've kind of talked about before on the show, giving that a horror twist and everything. You can do that. You just take the time, make it work. If you're just slapping it together, it's going to turn out cheesy. It's going to turn out weird, you know. Look at
just dull.
Yeah, you know, look at the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. You know, they took an idea of, you know, the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese are kind of creepy. Why don't we put our own twist on that? And they're getting a full motion picture out of it now. Yeah. You know, I'm actually kind of excited for it. I think if they do it right, it'll turn out really well. So,
sure.
You know, anything. I can't think of the movie. There's a movie that Nick Cage is in, and I know you have like a love-hate thing with Nick Cage. But there's a love-hate thing there. I get that. But there's a movie he's in. It's called like Freddy's Wonderland or something.
Oh, Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland. Thank you.
I did watch that. Yeah.
You know, it's cheesy, but I actually enjoyed it for what it was, and I enjoyed it for the fact that, you know, it was like Nick Cage is taking down all these killer animatronics. But when break time comes, it doesn't matter what's happening. He's taking his break. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I love that. That was one thing about that movie I loved. But that movie's cheesy, but it's not a bad movie. Like,
no, that actually, despite, again, what I think about Nick Cage, I did watch that, and I'll give it props. I mean, it's a solid idea. They don't dick around with it. They're just like, here's the premise, here's the situation, here's the guy that's going to fix it, but he's quirky in all the right ways, and that's that. So he's just doing his job, and it works. For whatever reason, it just works as is.
Yeah.
They didn't complicate it.
Now, one other Nick Cage thing I have to mention real quick, which this could... Do you have anything else before I get into this? Because this could segue us into the show, I think.
I did want to look over a few other little things, that just like little quick hits, if you will. So I finally got reconfirmation about that horror movie that I mentioned that was supposed to be Dracula's daughter, that suddenly it wasn't Dracula's daughter, but then they're just like, oh, well, wait a minute. So now it is officially Dracula's daughter.
Okay.
So it is for whatever reason they pulled that back, I have no idea. But they mentioned that Dan Stevens, I don't know if you know the actor by name, you might know his face. He has joined the cast of the film. I don't know as who as of yet, or at least I haven't grabbed or found any details behind it. But he is best known to me being the lead in the show Legion that was on FX for a time.
Okay, yeah.
That's where I first got introduced to him. I've seen him in a few things here and there, just kind of popping up, but I think he's a solid actor. I'm kind of interested to see who he's going to play, if he's going to be one of the bad guys, he's going to be someone else. So I'm curious to see that, but I'm happy to see that he's going to be in that. And there was a video that I shared on Twitter. Of course, I don't think anyone saw it because Twitter's a hellscape anymore. But the people over at Joe Blow did I guess you'd say, a retrospective on the career of Joe Bob Briggs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to go check that out, you can search it on their website or their YouTube page, either one. I think it's kind of a fun little breakdown, especially if you don't know a lot of the earlier stuff, because they cover his career pre doing the drive-in stuff all the way up to what we've done now. So there was like stuff I knew, little tidbits in between that I was familiar with, but not 100%. And then obviously the stuff that we know today that he's done over on Shudder. So I thought that was kind of fun. And finally, and this may not be considered horror news, but I think it can be in some aspects. It's apparently official. Beetlejuice 2 is actually happening.
Yes, I saw that.
So I did not think we'd see the day, but there's been an official release date for next year. Everyone seems to be on board. I think Jenna Ortega has joined the cast.
Yes.
Michael Keaton's awfully, he's back.
I don't know if it's true, but I thought I had read somewhere that I'm not sure if it's just a rumor, but apparently something in the rumor mill is saying that Willem Dafoe might have something to do with Beetlejuice 2.
No, he's in the movie as well. He just got cast. He's going to be, I think they said, like an afterlife police force or something like that.
I was wondering if maybe he might be taking on the role of, I can't think of her name in the movie, but in the first movie, the woman who had the slit throat, who smoked.
Yeah.
Because that actress has passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see him in a role like that, or like you said, like some kind of police role. But let's give it to Michael Keaton. Like this has been this year, and apparently next year are going to be his year, because returning as Batman, which he always, that was the biggest thing of his career. Like, he talks about it constantly still. And, you hear funny stories about on the set of Spider-Man. He'd get into the vulture gear, and in between takes, they'd have to not laugh because he would be like, "I'm Batman." And he would, like, make jokes and stuff. But, yeah, I'm excited for Beetlejuice 2. I love the first Beetlejuice. Yeah. And it was funny, I have to tell you this, because it's hilarious that this conversation came up, because I was talking with my father about Beetlejuice, and he was like, Michael Keaton's going to play Beetlejuice again? Didn't he kind of get out of shape and everything? And I think he was thinking about how Alec Baldwin put on some weight and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, actually, Dad, he still looks pretty much the same. And he was like, really? And I showed him a photo, and he was like, Jesus. Like, he was shocked how much he still looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
But
he just got a little age on his face, but he's still spry.
Oh, and fun fact, and I thought this was hilarious. Back to the Batman thing, just real quick. He is the same age in the Flash film. He is now the same age as the original actor who played Alfred in the Batman movie with him when they started.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Just to give you some context, like, it's crazy.
It's been 30 years, man.
It's nuts.
Just blows my mind.
And Jack Nicholson's, in his 80s now. I'd still... That's how he should go out. They should just dress him up like the Joker, get him on a bunch of medication, and just let him do his thing.
I'm not going to say that we will see a Jack Nicholson Joker in that film. I highly doubt. They might do a wink and a nod. But I'm going to warn everybody, if you don't want to know anything about that movie, you better avoid spoilers like the plague, because I have heard, I don't know who, except for maybe one, which I'm trying to keep it in the back of my head as like not really a possibility because it sounds a little far-fetched, but at the same time I kind of want it. But I'm not going to say who because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else, but I've heard that there's going to be a number of legacy cameos in the movie. And that, to me, is saying not just what we've seen in the DCEU now, but I'm talking like way back.
Yeah.
So if it's not just Keaton, who else? And again, I have one name that I've heard, but I'm going to keep that to myself because I don't want to spoil that for anybody. But I am curious who else could show up, because no one really comes to mind, but there are other DC movies and characters that have been out there for years, so who knows? But if you don't want to know, you better avoid anything
Right?
that says The Flash.
Avoid it like it's the plague.
Because the moment that information hits the internet, it'll be spreading like wildfire.
And you know, to me, with the whole Joker thing, there are a lot of people out there that have pulled off. They've done makeup on them, and they've pulled off looking exactly like Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a speaking role. It could just be
True.
a glimpse of them or something. I mean, I would be okay with that. And, you know, Jack Nicholson gets paid anytime they use his likeness, so it's not like he even has to star in it. You know,
That's true.
That's actually one of the best deals that was ever made in Hollywood. Like there's a I don't think there's a whole like documentary about it, but it is mentioned in a documentary. Nicholson took a lot less pay for that film, but he had a contract signed that whenever his likeness was used as the Joker, he would get a portion of the sales. And I mean, you got to think about how many things have been sold and with the Joker's likeness and that iteration of the Joker. It's insane. It's a deal that just the only other deal I can think of that's better or close to being better would be the deal that Spielberg made with Universal. Have you ever heard of have you heard of that deal?
I feel like I remember that deal early on. Was this back in the 70s or 80s?
I think it was maybe in the 70s. He had basically pulled Universal out of almost failing.
Yeah.
And through that, he said, "Okay, here's the deal. I want to be a part of everything you guys do at the park." So he gets a say in like the rides and everything at the theme park. But he also, a lot of people don't know this, you buy a hot dog at Universal, Steven Spielberg gets some money from that.
Holy shit.
He gets money from all of the sales that they make.
Wow. I did not know that little detail.
Yeah. I didn't believe it. I looked it up. Like you can look it up online, you can find it, but like he gets part of the concessions and he gets a say in like what they do on the rides and everything. I mean, that's insane.
But if you think about it, a lot of the rides are based around his movies.
Exactly.
So it's not. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
You
no,
can't.
like more power to him on that one, like for real.
Yeah.
But just mind blowing. But
Wow.
let me rewind back here. Did you have anything else here? Just wanted to
No, that was the last little bit I had.
because we could. It's called horror rambling for a reason.
Hey, we go on tangents on
Yeah, we
Superman
do.
Crash all the time. It doesn't matter, so we could do it here.
But to rewind real quick, back to the Nick Cage thing real quick. I wanted to mention a movie. I don't know if you've watched it yet. I know I've mentioned it before. Mom and Dad.
Sounds familiar.
It is on Hulu. It's free to watch on there. It's a It's a
okay.
film in which the things happen that the parents end up trying to kill their kids instead of protect their kids. And this movie is dark, but it's also comedy gold just because of the way that Nick Cage is. And Lance Henriksen is in it.
Oh, well, that's a selling point right
He
there.
plays Nick Cage's father. And there's a scene in the movie where Nick Cage and his wife, and I cannot think of her name, it's escaping me right now.
Selma Blair.
Thank you. And I love her, and it makes me feel terrible. I always forget her name, but I love her and everything I've ever seen her in. But they have the kids. They're like planning on how they're going to kill the kids and everything else. And then there's a knock at the door. And she says to Nick Cage, "Honey, remember? Your parents are coming over for dinner." And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And he opens the door, and instantly they're trying to kill him. So, it's one of those movies. It's a fun watch. It's not a very long movie, so if you get the chance, like, to take some time and just watch it, I think you'll enjoy it. But
well, I'm already seeing some familiar faces here. The kid, their youngest boy, he's the lead in the Chucky series.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Huh.
He's good in it. Like I said, it's a solid movie. It really is, and I think it was kind of slept on. I feel like a lot of Nick Cage's stuff lately has been slept on. Like Renfield, I heard fantastic things about, but it was slept on. So,
right.
But
which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because I've heard a lot of great things, and to each their own. If you don't like it, tough. But I'm gonna give it a watch. I'm excited.
Right. But I was thinking about that, Mom and Dad, and today's subject. At the time of recording, it is Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, we're going to be a little past Mother's Day, but happy belated Mother's Day to everyone out there.
Yeah, to all their moms, and if you are a mom.
Exactly. There are a lot of moms in horror.
Mm-hmm.
Some good, some bad. Some you just don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of chit-chatting before the show, and we thought, let's kind of touch on some of those moms in horror films. So we found a list, pretty good list online, and we're gonna kind of touch on that list a little bit and give our thoughts. So I always like giving you the floor, so I'll let you kind of pick someone from the list, and we'll kind of chit-chat about it a little bit. And we'll go from there.
Well, I guess we'll just start with the most obvious choice, which I think works so beautifully for Mother's Day, because we've argued this point numerous times before, and that's Pamela Voorhees she might be a bad mom, but I feel like her intentions are so pure, so good, because as I've argued before, she is a grieving mother who is just taking her rage out on people she feels are responsible and maybe going to be responsible for another child. Now, granted, there's that line where she still thinks that he's alive because it's in her head in some form or fashion. But I genuinely believe that spurs on from some mental break in her mind where she thinks, if I allow them to reopen this camp, another child is going to drown, another mother is going to lose her child, and this is why every time they've tried, because they even mentioned that in the first movie, every time they've tried to reopen the camp, what's happened? She goes on a killing spree. So you can't tell me that there's not some connection saying, oh shit, they're going to open the camp, another child's going to drown because they're not going to care, I'm going to go stop it.
Yeah.
And then when they don't, what does she do? She's been MIA the entire time. Nobody ever pays it any mind. So if they just stop opening the camp, she would probably just kind of level out.
Right.
Because she's not doing it any other time. So I feel like she has at the end of the day, I understand I'm not condoning murder, but I feel like her heart is in the right place in her fractured brain.
Yeah.
That she thinks she's trying to protect her son in some capacity, and I think she's a misunderstood villain.
Yeah.
In some ways, and I don't know. I just argue and advocate for her tragedy because it's sad when you stop to think about it and you really, really put the focus on it. And one thing I love around this time that had popped up many years ago were these photos. And it seemed to be like a photo shoot from the making of Friday the 13th Part 7.
Yeah.
Because the makeup was Jason from that movie. And you had Betsy Palmer doing these little photos, holding Jason's face, hugging him, all this stuff. And then I've seen people turn those into memes that say Happy Mother's Day. And I'm just like, that is perfect.
Yeah.
That is because she's conveying, this is how she sees her boy.
Yeah.
You know, the hell with the hockey mask, the decayed body, it doesn't matter. She's like, that's my boy.
Yeah, it's her baby.
And I love him so much.
Still her baby, yeah.
And I've always loved those pictures.
I think, too, one thing that shows that she was such a good mom is the fact that even after she was gone, Jason carried on her work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he continued to do at least what he thought his mother wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And if Freddy versus Jason showed us anything, it's when you fuck with Jason's mom, he's willing to kill. And and if anything, that right there just that speaks volumes. Like, she's a great villain, and I agree with you. I think she's a very misunderstood villain. But I think she became a villain for the same reasons that anyone would become a villain if something happened to their child. So, you know, it just makes sense. So, yeah, I would definitely put her in the category of being a good mom. Was she a good person? Not necessarily. Was she a good mom? Very much so. She was a very protective mother.
But I honestly feel like you could make that argument if someone would actually take the time to flesh her out, like I've been saying for however long we've been talking about it.
Right.
Genuinely, all you'd have to do is show that she has persevered and always continue to show that no matter how bad her life is, the life pre-Jason could be all the damage, psychological damage that causes her to break. But she continues to push on. She doesn't go down any dark path, and she has that relationship with him, and it's pure and just joyful and everything. That's her world. And you always show her to be a great person, no matter what. And then the moment that moment happens and she loses her joy, her reason for living, you have sympathy from everybody. Because despite her murdering people, there are a lot of other people. I honestly feel like your audience is going to be on her side from then on. Because you're like, she was such a great person. She lost everything. What was she to do? She just snapped. She reached her breaking point. So I guarantee you could make her very sympathetic and people would be on her side.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
That's just not something they did in Friday the 13th. They just they laid the seeds. They're out there. But flesh that shit out? Oh, man. No one would ever look at Pamela the same way again.
Exactly.
They would immediately always side with her.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I agree with you 100% on that one. Now,
yeah,
I want to take a turn here.
Okay.
And talk about one mother from horror that just really irritates me.
Okay.
I think she's a terrible mother. And annoying. And just, does not deserve to be a mother. Margaret White.
Yeah.
Poor Carrie. They're all going to laugh at you.
She what to say? The religious fanaticism of that woman is probably one of the biggest things that always felt true to life.
Yeah.
And I could see this being someone like none of this seemed far-fetched outside of Carrie's
psychic powers,
psychic ability, her shining, if you will, because come on, that's what it is, isn't it? But no, her mom, that just how she treated Carrie, how she made her feel, all that is true to life. If I ever saw anything but that, I mean, it's so true, and I hate to think that there are women out there still going through that. But it wouldn't surprise me if I did find that out either, especially in today's day and age where religious fanaticism has seemed to reach an all-time high, especially in the Christian community. No offense to any Christians out there. I understand that's not everybody. But there are some people out there who take it to another level. They want to shove this down people's throats to the point where people like myself, that's one of the reasons I walked away from it.
Yeah.
Because I spent many years, within the church. And obviously, when I reached my 20s, I began to question things, but I still kind of had that belief. And I thought, okay, well, I'm learning. I'm trying to understand. But the more and more people were just like, well, you got to go to church. You got to go to church. I'm like, but why?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. What does it matter? If I still believe in my heart, why do I have to go to church?
Exactly.
Why do I have to hear this all the time? And it's like, well, you're just going to hell if you don't go to church. It's like, you know what? I don't want to be here. I don't like the hypocrisy that I'm hearing.
And
So
I think that's the biggest reason why I don't care for her character. She represents the worst parts of religion and really the bigotry that it causes. And it's the best way I can put it is I feel like her character is just ignorant to the world around her. She expects her daughter to be some old spinster, and she doesn't think that her child is good enough. God is above all else, and her child is just born of sin. Her child is sinful and awful. And like you were saying, it's not that far-fetched. There really are people out there like that. And when you start seeing it in film and it plays out, and something about being on a screen and watching it play out in a movie just doesn't work for me. And there's nothing about her character that I find redeemable at all.
no, absolutely not.
Nothing. She's judgmental, and she is the one that is evil. And it seems like with a lot of religious stuff, it's the people that are pushing it that you find out are, doing things that they shouldn't be doing, that are corrupt, that are terrible. And, Carrie had a bad situation all the way around. School, home. If someone would have taken the time to really show her some love before everything happened at the end, maybe things would have turned out differently.
Yeah.
But she needed a lot more love than what she got. If her mother would have loved her more, would have been a little less crazy, I think that movie would have had a different ending.
Sure.
I really do believe that. But at the same time, I don't know. But yeah, Carrie's mom is terrible.
Yeah. And I do want to shout out the original actress, Piper Laurie, for her performance, because she earned her Oscar nomination for that role.
Yes.
Because, as you said, you just despise this woman. And to me, that's the mark of a great actor or actress,
Yes.
that you can put everything into a performance and you make people loathe you. Like the kid who played Joffrey on Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Anybody who watched that show hated that kid. But you know what? He's a great guy. I hate that he walked away from acting because people kept associating with him with that character, and that's a damn shame, because he had talent.
Yeah.
He proved it as a child actor. He could kill it today.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because the woman that played his mother, and I can, names are escaping me today. Names are hard.
You're talking about Game of Thrones?
Yeah, the woman that played Joffrey's mother. I can't think of her name. I know it's like right there.
Shit. I see her face clear as day, and I can't say her name.
But she was in an interview, and she was saying that when she goes and meets like fans and everything, they like give her a lot of shit. They call her a bitch and everything else, and she flat out said, she's like, you know what? That just means I did a really good job, because you guys really think that I'm like that. And
Lena Headey.
thank you. Give her props all day, but yeah.
Yeah, she's a She's top notch, and I even saw her. There was a Terminator show, I think, that came out before Game of Thrones. I think that was the first time I'd actually seen her outside of. I think she was in 300 as well.
I think
But
you're right. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of who she was at the time, so yeah, solid actress.
Very much so. Go ahead and you name another one here, and we'll keep on swinging through here.
Let's see. Well, all right. This is an interesting one. Not a great mother by any stretch of the imagination. And I probably want to go into a much deeper dive with this character later on in another episode, but I feel like she's worth mentioning here, which would be Norma Bates. And depending on which version of Norma you're talking about, you could have one that maybe is a little bit more sympathetic than another, but I don't know if I could ever really say she's 100% sympathetic about everything. Now, in Bates Motel, maybe a little bit more so, but she still had her ways of manipulating Norman and getting into his head. But in the original films of Psycho, I feel like she was just a very controlling, very much, I guess, in the same vein as Carrie White's mother, in a sense, where I think in part 4 they really kind of played on it a little bit more, but in the very first one they never really went beyond. They just had a very close relationship, and then when she passed, obviously we find out that she was murdered. But there was something in Norman that's the problem, and she just became a victim. But she also wasn't innocent to how she was treating him, how she raised him, and got that problem in his head to where he felt dependent on her, and that no other man could have her. She has to focus on me, that kind of thing.
In a way, I guess you could say she is sort of a combination of the first two that we discussed. It's like Pamela Voorhees meets Carrie's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was loving and everything else, but she was also controlling. She wanted everything to be the way that she wanted it to be. And by making Norman as dependent as she did, when he lost her, he had to come up with some way to psychologically ensure that she was still with him, because he just could not deal with her loss. So it's almost like he had a Pamela Voorhees moment when his mother died, and he went nuts.
Yeah.
So...
Mm-hmm. and there were just like little things that I remember from the I guess prequel / sequel part 4, which I feel like gets overlooked so much, but I feel like it's a great movie.
Yeah,
I think it was a made for TV movie, or for HBO or whatever, but still solid around the board in my opinion. But there was a scene in that film where they were showing Norman as a kid, and I think they were like him and his mother were at church. And this was like one of the seminal moments to show what kind of person she was, because they were sitting there listening to the sermon, and she started kind of like poking Norman in the side, and he was squirming, and then it was like she continued on and got him ticklish, and then he kind of giggled, and the moment he giggled, she smacked him. And you're just like, you did that. You instigated this. And now you're punishing him for some shit you caused? And it was just that one little moment. I was like, that in a nutshell shows what kind of person she was. She was like, I'm going to do one thing, but if you're not doing it the way I want you to, or you step out of line, or maybe she just got her kicks out of being mean to him.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a little shit like that. Just didn't make any sense. And then you had somewhat incestuous kind of things going on, but not in a very sexual way, just really weird, like where I think there was a scene where she was storming outside, and she runs and tells Norman to crawl into bed with her, and of course he's still kind of teen, not quite sure, he's already fucked up at this point, and he accidentally gets a boner, and of course, how dare you, and yeah, it's weird, but I don't, what have you done to this boy? I mean, at that point, you make him get into bed with you and comfort you. Like, it's fucking weird,
And
so she definitely damaged him.
and the worst part is that's not too far out of reality in some situations either. And I think that just makes it extra cringy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was a not a good mother. I'll just put it that way.
No.
I'll leave it right there.
Here's one for you.
Okay.
This one, I'm going to say she's a good mom, but the whole family is just nuts. Mother Firefly.
Oh yeah. She's a peach.
Yes. Karen Black. May she rest in peace. I always forget that she had passed away.
Yeah.
Wonderful performance in this film as Mother Firefly. Just Rob Zombie should just do movies about the Firefly family for a little while, because
I'd be down for that.
they are a just phenomenal family. And Mother Firefly obviously has a gorgeous daughter, Rob Zombie's wife. And there are some parts in it where you think maybe she's going to get jealous of her daughters because they're putting on their shows, they're doing their things. But she doesn't. And I love that, because they could have gone the direction where Mother Firefly was jealous of her daughters when her daughters were, flirting with the people that they had hostage and everything else. But Mother Firefly just kind of encouraged her kids to do all the crazy things that they did. And let's be honest, every kid needs encouragement, even if it is for something evil. But it's not like she manipulated her kids.
No.
Which is the weird thing. Like, we talk about all these other mothers. They, manipulated their children. They had to make their children bad. It feels like this is all these people ever knew. And yes, I think that's bad in that sense that, you live a dangerous life and you make your kids a part of that, obviously. But it's like this family just has a hunger for it. They have a desire to be evil and do these terrible things that they do. But she's just... I like her as a character. I think when it comes to being the crazy mom, she definitely wins in that one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
she was always like you said, she was always an encouraging, loving mother, and I think that's the beauty of the Fireflies is they're a deranged family, but by God, they love one another.
Yeah.
They've got each other's back. So I'll give them credit for that all day.
And just a side note, just real quick, I think it would be really cool if they did a prequel to everything. I would love to see Captain Spaulding as a young man. Sid Haig is gone. It's sad, but he's gone. But it would be really interesting if they found an actor to play like a young Captain Spaulding, and we got to see the crazy shit that he did in the good old days.
Oh,
And you could bring back, you could do a younger Firefly family and show that. And I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be too. If he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But I would love to see something like that. I'm on board for it. Hell, you could go back to like the 70s and like that. They already had kind of that 70s vibe of a grunge, what do they call them? The, God damn it, Grindhouse.
Yeah, Grindhouse, sorry.
Yeah, Grindhouse, drive-in movie. So why not go back to that era and show what they were like back then? Yeah.
I would be completely down for it. But yeah, no,
sure.
Mother Firefly, I'm gonna say that she's a good mom.
Yeah.
In a weird kind of way.
She's a loving mom.
She loves her kids. She loves her family. Is she crazy? Yes. Are the rest of them?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But look what she did to protect them.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. But go ahead if you've got another one.
Yeah, I want to talk about this one because this is not a mom you can necessarily root for. I guess in some ways you could say that she does love her kids, but it's weird. So I'm talking about Mother, and seems like there's more than just one mother on this list, but that's all she's referred to, from the movie Mother's Day. This is a trauma classic that is very much horror slash camp slash trash slash, it's trauma. This is what you come to expect. And the mother in this movie is, she's a psychopath, hands down. She has probably had plenty of kills in her day, and then of course as she had kids, she taught them to be bad, terrible people. In fact, this is one of those movies that I don't know if you could do this way. I'm almost positive they did a remake of this, though. I will say that.
I think so.
But they took a lot of liberties on trying to retell the story, so you don't have some of this stuff. There's a lot of brutality in this film. There's rape, so trigger warnings if that's something that you don't want to witness, which is understandable. But her whole deal is kind of reveling in what her kids do. All the terrible stuff. She just looks on, she watches, she encourages. She's just, I mean, I cannot defend this woman on anything she does. I can say she's a loving mother because of that, but I don't know. I mean, she's just far removed from reality and what she does. So it's a very odd line to teeter on, because I can't condone what she's doing, but I can say she loves her kids. But does she? Because she's making them do terrible shit. I don't know. She's an odd character. She's an odd duck, but beautifully portrayed by Beatrice Pons, who went by a pseudonym for this film. And I don't know. It's a trauma film. If you know what you get.
Yeah.
If you see Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman presenting your film, buckle up. You know what you're getting into. And this is definitely one of those films.
Which, just, I gotta say it again. Lloyd is one of the nicest people I think we've ever talked to. Mm. And to see the horror films he makes, it just solidifies what I've always said, that people in horror are some of the nicest people you will ever meet, and it really throws
Absolutely.
people off sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was an interesting one that I wanted to bring up, because holy shit, it's like I said, it can be a hard watch for some people, which I understand. But again, if you know what you're getting into with trauma, you know what you're getting, and she's just an odd character that I don't know if you can really root for. But yeah,
it's been a minute since I've seen it, but from what I remember, she's an oddly satisfying character to watch. Just,
sure, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I know that might come off weird, but like she's really good.
Oh yeah, and I think that's why it's so hard to really say, because it's like you hate this person, but you're all just like, I do love watching this character.
Yeah,
but
you're intrigued. Yeah,
yeah.
You can't look away. It's like a car crash. You can't look away, but you know that it's terrible.
Right.
Now, I have one that I think she's one of the more human moms on this list. She's one of the more real moms on this list. Okay. She has her good moments. She has her bad moments. But out of a lot of the moms on this list, she's probably one of the ones that I feel the most bad for. And that is Annie Graham from Hereditary.
Yeah.
That movie is a hard watch just because of what happens. Obviously, she loses one of her children in a horrible, horrible accident. probably one of the craziest scenes I had seen in a movie up until that point. Like, it'd been a while since I'd seen something that made me go, holy shit. But geez, the aftermath of it and the effect that it had on her, and there's a scene at the table where she's sitting there with her son and her husband, and her son's giving her some attitude, and she goes off on him, and she's yelling at him, and she's cussing at him, and she's telling him that she doesn't want to be angry at him, but she can't help it, and everything else. And I'm sorry, but Toni Collette should have won some kind of huge award for her performance in this film.
Sure.
Because it was so believable. Like, I was sitting there watching this movie, and I really felt for her character. I felt horrible for her character, and it was really upsetting. Like, she did such an amazing job at portraying this character, and it turns out in the film that she's not even the main character. Toward the end of the film, you find out she's not really the main focus.
Yeah.
But she did such an amazing job that she
really did.
You're stuck with her, like, but you're okay with being stuck on her character. Like, there's so much I could say. It just, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but yeah, the Academy Awards really shits on horror films in the first place. But if they would have just seen a clip of that part of the scene of the film. Just that one part that I was just talking about. If they would have just shown that to the Academy, they probably would have been like, damn. But then when you but then when you get horror stuck on it, the Academy's like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
But God, I mean, what are your thoughts?
No, it's definitely one of those heartbreaking films because of everything that practically goes on, and a lot of the things that we don't really understand are going on at the time. But her performance, sells every minute of it, because even when she gets to extremes where you could possibly just be like, oh, okay, like it feels like it's going over, and sometimes you just feel a little stressed by her and her energy. Again, that's part of the performance. This is what she's bringing to it, and you can't help but sympathize because she is a grieving mom. There's a lot going on, and maybe there was a lot going on prior to, obviously we know that the family is a little oddball even before tragedy strikes, so she's already kind of dealing with that, and then this just adds to it. Then the issues she's having with her son, just all of it compounded together, and everything she brings to the energy to that character and the madness she's going through, it's scary and heartbreaking all at the same time. Yeah. So, she definitely should have gotten a lot more praise for her performance in that film. And 100%. And
just to piggyback real quick off of what you just said about, it coming a little bit higher, maybe getting to the point where it might be a little over the top. I feel like that was really beneficial for the film in the aspect that if you're sitting there and you're watching this as a parent and you see her going over the top with her grief or her anger or anything, I think a lot of people probably began to question how they would act if they were to lose a child. Because when you see somebody reacting like this, in your mind you're going, okay, I think you need to calm down. And then you also think to yourself, well, I guess I don't know what kind of situation that would be like. And it really makes you start to think. And when a movie makes you think like that, it really pulls at you. So, yeah. But yeah, definitely got to give her credit for that movie. So
for sure. All right. My next choice that I want to talk about is from a movie that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about very often. Like, I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, and how it came across my eyes as a youth, I have no idea. But it just, something about the concept screamed at me when I saw it, and I thought, I'm intrigued. Let's see what it is. And this is Beverly Sutphin from the John Waters underrated classic Serial Mom, played by Kathleen Turner. I have watched this movie so many times. I was convinced at one point that this was a true story because they kind of lay out some information, but I think that was kind of misleading because it was meant to be satire of this type of movie about, you know, these true stories or what have you. So I don't think it's actually true. I think that was one of those, what do you call them? Rumors or old wives' tales, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's another term I'm looking for, but it's eluding me for some damn reason. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Not true, but being a John Waters film, if you're familiar with any of his work, they all kind of have this theme, this kind of energy to them. So this was actually my first introduction to John Waters. I was not aware of his films. I heard the name before, but I didn't know who he was or what his movies were about. And obviously, I've kind of looked into some of the older ones previously to this, but this was the one that kind of introduced me to his style. Now, this is also the movie where I got introduced to Matthew Lillard, who is just such a great character in this film. But it's Beverly Sutphin, or at least Kathleen Turner's portrayal of this character, that is so interesting, because this is a woman who is played as straight-laced as a housewife as you could possibly imagine. Like this 1950s, you know, prim proper, I'm taking care of my family, I love my family so much, we're going to make sure everything is so perfect. And then even when there are elements of things that would be considered bad, like when Matthew Lillard says shit at the breakfast table, she's like, you know, I don't like the brown word. And you're just like, what? But it's that mentality of that type of mom, that type of character that you would see back in the 50s, you know, just you can't swear, you can't do anything bad. Everything even has a rule about gum in the house. Just these little innate things are just like, who the fuck cares? But for her, this is the rule of law. And it's those little things that trigger her murderous rampage. And that's the ridiculous part of it, but it's also so on point for what they're trying to lay out for this type of person. Like, they are just so hung up in their ways that she hits a breaking point. Now, granted, she clearly had some problems prior to this. Like, this is who she has been. I wouldn't even be surprised if there were more victims that we are unaware of, because they find out she had been talking to Ted Bundy on death row and just had been collecting all these snippets of serial killers that have, you know, been famous over the years. So she's clearly obsessed. She's already, it's in her brain. But then one day she snaps and she's like, nope, I'm going to do this for real. And I think it was the very first person was, I think it was a teacher at her kid's school, like Ricky Lake's teacher or something like that, had said something about her. No, it was Matthew Lillard's character's teacher. That's what it was, because he had his horror club at school or something like that, and the teacher was like, it's unhealthy, he's demented, just tearing into him because of his obsession with horror films. Obviously getting that from her in some aspect. He has that, what do you call it, setting in his brain. There's another. See, I need a Webster's dictionary downloaded in my brain right now. I can't come up with the right words.
Words are hard today. I get it.
But she's upset that this man has said some terrible things about her son. So what does she do? Plows him down with her car, and that is just like the starting point. So from that point on, it's like, wait a minute, that felt great. I'm going to start doing this to everything. And it's, again, always just these little itty-bitty things that she's just so upset about. Like someone not wearing their seatbelt or wearing white after Labor Day. Just these Like, what is wrong with you? That kind of stuff.
The no white after Labor Day still makes me laugh to this day.
Yeah. But it's so on point. Like, you absolutely know that would drive her mad.
She's just...
But, yeah,
she's just one of those characters, like, I don't know what it is about her, but... Oh, man, she is fantastic in it.
Yeah.
And whenever I think of, like, crazy moms, I instantly go there. And I think it's because of this movie. I honestly, I think it is.
Yeah, her performance is just so on point. In fact, now, I'm not saying anything... I want people to understand that. I'm not saying anything negative about Kathleen Turner, but she has changed in quite some time. I had not seen her in a project in... Hell, I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw her. Maybe, I think she was in the sequel to Dumb and Dumber, which was not all that great. I'm just going to lay that out there.
Yeah, I think I believe.
She was Freda Felcher, the one that they mentioned that they had, they both had a thing for or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think that was the last time I'd seen her in something, and I thought, all right, well, okay. But I saw her in this new show called White House Plumbers, which is based on the Watergate scandal. It's got Woody Harrelson and a few other people in it. And she was in it, and I didn't recognize her. It, blew my mind when I realized who that was, because I kept looking at her and I was like, I know her. Why do I know her? And suddenly, it's like she said something a certain way, and I heard that Kathleen Turner voice come out, and I thought, holy shit, that's Kathleen Turner. So she I don't know. I feel like this is a movie that does not get a lot of love, and I don't understand why, because I feel like it's such a great satirical horror film, and that's another thing you don't see a lot is satire and horror. So, and maybe that's because it's just, you don't think about the two together, and it is kind of an oddball thing. And I think satire is another thing that is kind of an acquired taste for some people. Some people just don't get it. Some people don't find it as amusing as others. So I think that might be one of the reasons, but I honestly feel like this is one of John Waters' best movies. But that's just me. That's my opinion on her and that film. And everybody in it. Like I said, first time I saw Matthew Lillard, well, let me rephrase that. Second time. I didn't realize I knew Matthew Lillard from another movie prior to that, which was Ghoulies 3, where they were in college. He was in that. But I didn't know who he was. That was the first time I actually took note and said, hey, I like that guy. And then I kept following him through his career at that point. So, anyway.
Not a bad start.
Oh. And I know we're talking about moms, but I do have to give a shout out to Sam Waterston, who plays her husband. He has got such deadpan reactions about just everything that's going on. And I think there was a moment where they were, I can't remember if it was a dinner scene or at a courtroom. I can't remember the scene exactly, but she's just practically confessing to all this. No, it was when the cops were following them in the car as they were heading to church. The radio was sitting there explaining that she was the prime suspect in all these murders and all this stuff. And he's just, like he can't speak. He's just making noises, just freaking out. And she's just like, oh, it's okay. And he's like, like that's all he can get out. And it's just so funny.
See,
I love it so much.
That's the thing about horror films that I wish would come back, because there's this dark grittiness to them all now. You gotta have that aspect of just a little bit of comedy. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a real dark horror movie, have at least one kind of funny moment.
Yeah, because
it kind of pulls the audience back to a sense of security, and then you can terrify them again.
No, for sure, absolutely.
Now, I have one, and I don't know how to classify this mother. She's just referred to as mother. It's been a minute since I've seen this movie, but have you ever seen Goodnight Mommy?
I have wanted to see that. I know of the film. I'm aware of the premise behind it.
Well, I won't spoil the ending for you.
Okay.
But let's just say the mom in this film, I feel bad for.
Okay.
I feel very bad for. And a lot of the people listening, they might feel bad as well. Like I said, I can't really tell you the whole thing that happens in the film because I don't want to spoil it for you. But sort of just a quick rundown. Mom's face is all bandaged up. Mom had surgery. The kids don't think it's their actual mother. So a bunch of craziness ensues. Won't say much more because if I say much more, I will ruin the movie for you, and I do not want to ruin the movie for you. But I actually do feel kind of bad for the mother in this film. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'll leave it at that because I really don't want to spoil it for you because you'll watch it, and when you watch it, you'll be like, holy shit. There's one that's not on this list that I feel like we should talk about.
Okay.
And we've talked about before. And I don't see her on the list, but Mama from the movie Mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of those ones I feel really sad for. A mother that lost her child, died, and takes care of 2 living children. Obviously, she doesn't do very well with other people taking over that role because murder ensues. But we've talked about vengeful spirits before. We've talked about spirits that are evil. Mama's not an evil spirit.
Yeah.
Mama just doesn't understand that. I feel like she doesn't understand that she's dead and that she shouldn't be taking care of children that are alive.
Sure.
And even obviously she was good to the kids because at the end of the film, the youngest kid, who is still pretty feral, let's just say that.
Yeah.
She does go with Mama off the cliff. But yeah, that's just one of those characters, like, you watch the movie and yeah, you're terrified of this spirit, but you feel for it. You really do. It's like that motherly love never dies.
Right. Right.
So
No, I'm 100% on board with that.
but
Next mom I want to talk about is because we've talked about more murderous moms and things like that, or moms that kind of do vengeance, but they're kind of teetering a line. I want to talk about one that I guess could teeter a line on being a good person per se, but I also feel like that within the context of the situation she's put in would definitely be a hero mom in all the right ways. So everything she's done prior to that, I don't feel like matters. But I'm talking about Donna Trenton from Cujo, played by Dee Wallace, because this is a woman. Her and her son both are going through trauma. First and foremost, just being trapped in that car from the dog, and that's essentially what the movie, or a good chunk of it, is them being trapped in this car by that dog and trying to survive the heat, trying to survive how they're going, or figure out how they're going to get out of the situation. And she has to deal with not only being stuck in that car and the heat, but her son, who's a young child who cannot process what's going on. So as you're sitting there watching him suffer, she's suffering. She's just trying to protect her kid. And eventually she just says, fuck it, and does what needs to be done to make sure her son is going to stay alive, even if that meant her dying in the process, which I don't really feel like would have been the appropriate move if you think about it, because, he was practically on his last legs, the boy was, dehydrating and everything in the car. But I think I guess the energy she was bringing to the situation, I think any parent in that scenario probably would have done the same thing. Say, fuck it, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna fight this dog, and if I die, so be it. But at least the dog, you will go down killing that dog if the dog was killing you at the same time. Like, that's the kind of energy I think she was at. It's like, I don't give a damn if I die, but I'll be damned if this dog is gonna survive and kill my kid.
Yeah.
You know. So, and that's kind of the moment where she just says, where you see her just get out of the car and just deal with it. Like, this, breaking point's over. This is where we're at. So I don't know what else to do. And it's a shame that it had to go that far, especially with because I guess even given the kid, I think his name was Danny Paterno or Pintaro. I'm probably saying it wrong, but that kid's performance, man, he just breaks your heart.
Yeah.
Because when you're seeing him suffer, you're just like, oh my God, like you want to do something, but you want to help whatever you can do. But I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
And no matter how many times you watch it, you're there with them. You feel as trapped as they do. And this is why I feel like this is one of Stephen King's, or a Stephen King adaptation that holds up over time.
Yeah.
Because the way it's set up, that claustrophobia, being trapped, not knowing what to do, the suffering, just every bit of it, you're there with it.
Yeah.
You never feel like you're not trapped in the car with them. And it's just, I love it so much. And she does a fantastic job selling that.
I agree with you on the feel of it, because the first time I watched the movie, to me, it almost felt like somebody just set cameras up, and this was a real life situation. Like, this was something that was really happening. A lot of that has to do with the grittiness of films when that was filmed. Yeah. But the performances just they're so real. And let's just give Dee Wallace a shout out anyways, because she's phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And
for sure.
She is a horror mom. Let's just say that. She really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall ever seeing her play a mean mom or a cruel mom. She's always been that more loving mom from what I can remember.
Too true, yeah.
So I guess we could really give her a shout out as far as that goes. And I have to say this, I know I told this in another story, but met her and she talked about Cujo.
Mm-hmm.
And for parts of the movie, obviously Cujo was actually a person in a costume for certain parts of the movie. But they had like 12 or 13 different dogs that they used that played Cujo. And they were all trained to try to get toys. And they had to tie the dog's tail to its leg when they did scenes because the dogs thought they were playing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what Dee Wallace was telling me when I met her, because we talked about Cujo for a moment. And she said the dogs would be excited. They would think that they were playing. But obviously seeing a dog looking like it's attacking somebody, when the dog was literally trying to just get to the toy, and it was like attacking to like get to the toy and whatnot, but like playing. She said, obviously, if the dog's wagging its tail while it's trying to murder us, that doesn't look very convincing.
Right.
So that's why they tied their tails to their legs so that you wouldn't see their tails wagging.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess that's got to work that way.
She was a delight. She's a very nice lady. And
no doubt.
She just, to me, she's just motherly all the way around. Like, even when you meet her just as a person, not as an actress, when you meet her and you just talk with her, she's very motherly. In a very...
I could see that.
Yeah, and, like, sometimes you worry that people aren't going to be exactly how they portray themselves. And, sometimes you have to understand that. They're actors. They don't exactly, they're not who you see on screen all the time. But you hope that certain traits kind of come off of the screen with them. That they put part of themselves up there on the screen. And I think that motherliness is what she put up on the screen from her real life. Because she's a very, just a very motherly woman. And just super, super soft, super gentle, very, very polite, very kind. So I'll give her a shout out all day for that one.
Sure.
I have another mother that I think would fit sort of in the same category as just wanting to keep her family safe.
Okay.
Really got tortured in this movie behind the scenes. I'm sure you probably can piece it together from what I'm saying. Wendy Torrance from The Shining.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall, who got put through the ringer for this film. The stories you hear about what Kubrick did to her in this movie, not to sound mean, but he was kind of a dickhead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, just...
And some would argue it got the best performance out of her, but at the same time, it's just like, but is it worth it, really?
Yeah, like, was her performance really so bad without you doing these things?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if I have to torture someone to get them to perform the way I want them to perform, I'll just find another actress if that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
So,
So.
but, stuck in the middle of nowhere, no safe spot to hide. I mean, they're in a big hotel, but there's really nowhere to hide. Your husband's gone crazy, and you're just trying to keep your son safe, who has been seeing things and is tripping out. Definitely a lot to worry about.
For sure.
It's like she's trying to hold this family together while she's trying to maintain her own sanity in the situation. I feel like there was a lot of tension to where it was like, I felt like their marriage was struggling when they went, and she was trying to make sure that their marriage stayed strong, and being there just heightened all of the negativeness.
Yeah.
And she's trying to hold everything together. Like, I felt really bad for her character. It's like she was trying to hold everything together while everyone else was slipping away. And, being isolated like that, being alone. And, I can never remember. She does end up getting killed, doesn't she?
No.
Okay.
She gets out.
That's right. Because she cuts his hand. Because I always wondered, like, I know it's terrible of me to I'm not a big Shining guy. Like, I like it, but it's not like the biggest film for me. And for some reason, part of me always thought that she like got killed, but then I'm like, wait a minute, no, she didn't. But just imagine that, your husband hacks through the door, and you cut his hand. He runs off to find your son, and you don't know where your son is either. So you're worried.
Yeah.
She puts her son out into the wilderness, out into the cold, and she doesn't know if he's going to make it back or not. But without hesitation, she made sure that her son could get away.
Yeah.
Right there proves it. I'm going to keep my baby safe. Good mom all day for that one. Which, fun fact, too, about that movie. They used prop doors for Jack Nicholson to hack through, but apparently he was a fire marshal or something in his younger days, and he was hacking through the doors too quickly. So they actually had to get a real door, like a solid wood door, for him to hack through.
Well, he was hacking it all right, by God. There wasn't any doubt.
A fun fact. But yeah, I'm going to give her a shout out too, because she was a fantastic mom. And I don't care what anybody says about Shelley Duvall. She's a good actress.
Yeah.
I like her. And I hate that Hollywood did what it did to her. I hate that she feels the way that she does about herself. Would you recognize her today compared to how she used to look? No. But
yeah,
I watched an interview with her a while back where she talked about how ugly she was, how she was an ugly person outside and inside, and it's like Hollywood made you think that about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrible. But if you're listening out there, we love you.
Absolutely. You're a gem.
So, you got any other mothers you want to shout out?
I got one more that I'd like to shout out, and I think I probably would have forgotten about this one because it doesn't normally, like, I don't forget about it, but it's not necessarily on my mind all the time. But they just showed this on the last drive-in because Mother's Day, and I found it funny that there's like this love-hate for this film, but I feel like this is an interesting mother-centric film, and that is the Babadook. So we're talking about, what's her name, Amelia?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've never seen it, I will admit, it is a hard watch at times because, not in anything graphic per se, it's just the energy in the film and how it's all kind of playing out because the story kind of goes is that Amelia lost her husband in a car accident, and I think that was actually while she was in labor with her son, and the son has started to develop these erratic behaviors. He's kind of acting out, freaking out, screaming. I think it was in this movie where she shouts at him, right? And says, "What is wrong with you?" or "Why are you like this?" or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I didn't watch it when they re-aired it, so that's on me. But I had seen it before, and that's why I was like, I got other things to watch. I'll catch that later. But anyway, the son kind of becomes obsessed with this book, and this book is about Mr. Babadook, and then of course this creature starts to kind of invade their home life, and it kind of becomes more of a trippy kind of situation where you're not quite sure what's real and what's not. And for me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but it almost seemed like this was kind of a culmination of her, almost like she had hatred for her son, and maybe kind of blaming him for what happened, subconsciously maybe. And that's where she kind of felt isolated from him. He's acting out maybe because she wasn't giving him the attention and the love and the care that he deserved for something that was not his fault. So all this kind of metastasizes as this shadowy creature and really kind of gets into her head. And she even finds herself attacking her kid within some of these visions that she's kind of having, these little psychedelic visions. I'm almost positive there was a scene where she saw herself killing him at one point, killing her son. Maybe
I can't remember. I think there might have been.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember a lot of this, but I remember this. It was very gut wrenching because you didn't know, like, the boy, he got on my nerves. I'll say that. I remember at one point all the screaming and everything that was going on was like, Jesus Christ, man, what is wrong with this child? So you're feeling it from the mother's perspective. You're kind of on her side going, yes, please shut up, kid. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So it helps you get down that path, like you're following her. But then when you start seeing how her thoughts and feelings toward her son are, you kind of start to be like, well, shit. I mean, I don't think you should hate him or something like that, but goddamn. And then, I don't know, eventually it just, she confronts the evil, the Babadook and whatever, and kind of seals that away. So it's kind of metaphorically, she had this darkness in her and she's trying to put it away and better herself, stop blaming someone for something that they couldn't help, and became a better mother in the process. So it, like I said, I'm probably not doing it justice because it's been a while, but I remembered bits and pieces of it. And I remember that specifically, the relationship was always just really hard to watch because you can't imagine, but I know that they're out there, parents who just hate their children. And again, they sold it so well that we get annoyed with the kid too. But at the end of the day, you're just like, but why? And then when you start to learn little details, you're just like, but that's not his fault. He can't help it. And I don't know. It's a very deep movie on so many levels, so I kind of appreciate that and how they did that.
Yeah.
So, and it's definitely one of the reasons I haven't watched it a lot is because the subject matter is so deep and dark and just it's one of those that you just have to be in a mood to watch.
Yeah.
You know.
He's an interesting character, the Babadook and everything. Definitely some inspiration on some other things that we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
The only other character I want to like sort of shout out real quick is Nancy's mother in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say she's a good mom. I don't want to say she's a bad mom. I think she's a perfect representation of how alcoholism can destroy a family.
Yeah.
Because Nancy's parents are not together. And Nancy's mom does not have the answers on how to help her daughter. She thinks that she helped her daughter already by killing Freddie in the first place. But when things continue to happen and she realizes that she can't help her daughter, she gives in to drinking.
Yeah.
And it makes her into a not so good mother. Makes her sick. So I want to say that she wanted to be a good mom, but she just gave in to the pressures of life and of the situation, and it really made her a person that she wasn't. So
Yeah, I can see that.
I definitely want to give her a shout out. But all of the parents in Nightmare on Elm Street are kind of like that. They don't believe that this stuff could be happening, and they kind of turn a blind eye to it, and it's unfortunate, but it does happen. And fun fact, since I'm full of those today, the scene in the kitchen where she slaps Nancy,
yeah,
they were so involved in that scene, she really did slap Heather Langenkamp. So
I mean, it felt like it. You
Yeah.
were just like, oh shit.
So the reaction and everything is genuine. She really slapped her, and I guess after they yelled cut, she like apologized profusely, like, I'm so sorry, and they were like, no, it's a good scene, we got it. But yeah, I wanted to give that one a shout out. So do you have any other moms you want to talk about, or
I'm sure there's some we're missing, but none that come to mind that I'm just like, oh my god, we must talk about this mom. Because again, there's probably plenty out there that we're not thinking about that we've forgotten.
well, I guess it's not like we can't do another Mother's Day episode on next Mother's Day.
That's true. That's true. So people can let us know about their mother's choices and whatnot, and then we can talk about those.
Sounds like a plan to me.
time.
Well, if you have nothing else, then if you want to let the people know where to find us, we can wrap this one up pretty in a bow and give it to Mom.
Well, Ramblers, celebrating your Mother's Day, what is your favorite Mother's Day horror film? Who's your favorite good mom, favorite bad mom, some gray area mom that you don't really know which side she belongs on, but you're kind of torn either way? Let us know on Twitter at Horror Ramblings, even though it's a hellscape right now and no one ever seems to see anything. That's the consensus I keep hearing. It's like, why is Twitter showing me shit that I don't want to see? Because I don't know. We'll try to find us a better spot to go. I've been hearing about all these other social media sites. But if you've got more to say and a tweet's just not going to cut it, you can go to horrorramblings@gmail.com. Send us an email. You don't go there. You just send it there. I don't know why I said that. And if you want to discuss horror with like-minded individuals, you can join our Facebook group, or you can join us in our Ramblers room on Discord, which is a much more fun place to have conversations, I feel, than Facebook. But we can do it on Facebook. It doesn't matter. You can even find us on Instagram to see an assortment of horror images. You can chuck in a buck over at patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions if you want to help support the show financially. I'm getting my S's. They're slipping away because I said so many. Leave a review on your favorite podcasting platform and tell your friends to find us on that same platform as well, or wherever they like to listen. Just hit those little 5 stars, help our show grow, get us on a top 10 list. Sometimes they do that over on Good Pods. They're very good to indie podcasters like ourselves. And if you want to look at our weekly questions and polls on Spotify, we try to post those up every week as well with a new episode. And finally, if you want a central hub, you can go to pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings to find everything. Links are in the show notes down below.
And remember, guys, stay spooky out there.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.